Mrs. Gandhi and myself.
Morarji Desai.
Ah, you want to know about Morarji Bhai?
You've been dying to tell that story, haven't you?
I've got 2 or 3 stories about Morarji Bhai. When I became Army Chief, Morarji Bhai was the Finance Minister in Mrs. Indira Gandhi's cabinet. Then he became Prime Minister. Mrs. Gandhi lost the election, he became Prime Minister. One day he said, I believe you drink. So I said, yes, I have. You mustn't drink. Very bad for you. So I said, Prime Minister. I come to my Prime Minister, he said, you mustn't drink. I go to a party and I talk to a pretty girl. My wife says, you mustn't talk to her. I'm a field marshal, is life worth living? He says, your wife is quite right. Drinks and pretty girls will ruin you. I said, they haven't ruined me so far. After partition, I became Director of Military Operations, and I remained Director of Military Operations for 3.5 years. I was sent to Kashmir with V.P. Menon, who was the State Secretary. The Maharaja's army the Muslim element had revolted, the tribesmen had come in, and I was sent there with him, V.P. Menon, to see if he could get the accession from the Maharaja, see what the military situation was like. And at about midnight, the Maharaja signed. He kept on saying, you must send soldiers in. He said, we can't send soldiers into your state unless you accede to India. So at midnight he acceded to India. V.P. Menon handed over the accession papers to Mountbatten. Mountbatten looked at me. He said, Manakji. He didn't call him Manak. Manakji, what's the military situation like? I said, very bad, sir. The tribesmen are busy looting and raping about 9 kilometers away from Srinagar and the airfield. If they once get in, we've lost Kashmir because we won't be able to fly troops in, etc. So he looked at Nehru, and Nehru talked and all, until Sardar Patel lost his temper. He said, Jawaharlal, do you want Kashmir or do you want to hand it over? He said, of course, Kashmir is ours now. So he said, will you issue orders? And before he could issue orders, Sardar Patel said, you have received your orders. So I walked out, and we started flying troops into Kashmir.
What was your relationship with Sardar Patel like?
Sardar Patel was Home Minister, and I had a good relationship with him. Every morning, V.P. Menon and I would go to his place, and he would be sitting down there. His daughter, Maniben, be sitting cross-legged with a Parker fountain, a brown Parker pen, taking notes. And he would say, VP, I want Baroda. Take him with you. I would go as a bogeyman in uniform. When the killings were taking place in Calcutta, by British Commander-in-Chief, he came along and said, hey you, the Sardar wants you in Calcutta. So I said, why me, sir? He said, he phoned, he wants you there. An aircraft has been laid on for you. So I went there. The Sardar was with the Chief Minister, B.C. Roy. When I went in there, he said, I don't want arguments, etc. I'm going to ask you a question, I want an answer. If I hand over the situation to the army, how many Bengalis will you kill and how long will it take you? I was a very young brigadier. So I opened my mouth. I said, sir, about 100 in about a month. So he said, turned around to Bidhan Roy, he said, thousands are being killed. He said, go and kill them, take over. And he deployed troops all over Calcutta. We didn't have to kill anybody. Everything finished. He said, come here. And in Gujarati he tells me, "Tame sachu nahi bolo?" So I said, what have I done? He said, "Tame kahlu ki 100 Bengali na marso ne ek bhi nahi maryo." Then he told me, he said, well done, thank you. Then the Chinese came into Nifa and General Kaul was sacked and Krishna Menon was removed, and Nehru sent for me. He said, I've got a vigorous enemy. Will you go and take over? And I said, I've been waiting 18 months for this, Prime Minister. And he said, oh, that was all a mistake. That was all a mistake. Will you go? I said, yes, I'll go. So I took over the thing. And so I always say that the Chinese came to my rescue. If the Chinese hadn't come in, and if Krishna Menon and Kaul hadn't been sacked, I don't know what they would have done with me. I said, I don't want to know what happened in the past. All I want to know is, who are my commanders? Where are the Chinese? How much ammunition have I got? How much oil, petroleum and food have I got? And just leave the map to be here. Which they did. After half an hour, I rang the bell, they came in, and I said, I don't know whether I'm doing right or wrong, but these are my orders. And that was the time when the Chief of Staff took it, hat off, flung it on the ground, jumped on it. He said, thank effing God, at last somebody is giving orders. We have never had orders before. And my orders were that we start advancing. They were. Now, Khanna, Leja.
So Sam, tell me about when you joined the Gurkhas.
Oh Lord. In the Indian Army, there were 10 regiments of Gurkhas. So when India got independence, like the Pakistan people went to Pakistan, certain regiments went to Her Majesty's Gurkhas and certain regiments remained in India. But there was a treaty between the King of Nepal and the British government that all Gurkha regiments would be officered by British officers. So when the British officers left, there had to be some Indian officers. So I was the first Indian to be posted to a Gurkha regiment. I, having been with the Frontier Force Regiment, now became a Gurkha.
What year was this?
1947. 1947. And I met a Gurkha sentry. I looked at him and I said, asked him, Tera naam kya hai? And he said, Harka Bahadur Guru. Then I looked at him, Mera naam kya hai? And he thought and he said, Sam Bahadur. I became Sam Bahadur.